Hello and welcome to Bicycle Touring Talk. Glad you're here. My name is George Schlacek,
the one and only,
and I am an avid cyclist. In the summer of 2017, I set out to cross Canada on my bicycle, coast to coast. This series follows the tour pretty much 1 or 2 days at a time. I'm hoping it will help someone with their own tour planning, or at least be entertaining. Bicycle touring is very much underrated, and I'd like to see that change. In the last episode, I left you guessing if Barbara and I were going to be okay stealth camping at the shore of Lake Ontario, pretty close to people's backyards, almost certainly breaking a bylaw. We had been discovered by a man, and he'd been staring at us. But tired as we were, we had decided we were going to be okay, and we're going to stay right there. The next day was Friday, July 21st. We woke up early to a beautiful sunrise over Lake Ontario. I can't say for sure what happened during the night because I slept like a brick. But according to Barbara, everything was quiet. Unfortunately, she had not slept quite so well and pretty much told me that she'd much rather pay for a commercial campground for peace of mind. We didn't waste any time to wrap up our camping site. Sure enough, by the time we were ready to go, all kinds of dog walkers, joggers, and cyclists were doing their thing on the trail next to our secret camping spot. We went back toward the lift bridge we had crossed the previous day. It was only about a half a kilometer or so to find a picnic table where we had breakfast. Public bathrooms were also available, and they opened just about the time we were done eating and drinking our instant coffee.
I'm trying to figure this thing out, you know.
After some quick freshening up, we were once again cycling on the waterfront trail, this time heading south along the Hamilton Beach. As we were riding, we tried to imagine what it would have been like back in the day after we had seen some photos of this beach from the 1920s and earlier that were displayed at the bathroom. There was a rich history about this waterfront, which had once been a place people visited to spend their holidays. The fun had ended when modern infrastructure was put in place after World War II, bringing with it the pollution people were trying to escape. Today there's a nice paved trail for a few kilometers. The beach itself is a conservation area, which would be nice too if there wasn't a huge hydro transmission line overhead. Oh, and did I mention the QEW, a 6 or 8 lane expressway, is within spitting distance. People still do their walking, running, and cycling here, but the natural environment has been pretty much destroyed, save for a few revival efforts. Of course, the trail ended and we had to find our way toward the Niagara region. On advice we were given the day before, we didn't try to follow the waterfront trail, but instead took the road up into Stoney Creek, where we made a stop for a second breakfast. Well, not so fast. I'm missing a very important part of the story here because we got lost big time. See this lady? I asked her how to get to Welland from here.
I don't know. Never went there.
Since there were no other people to ask and no signs, we just tried to guess our way around, and that usually doesn't work out too well. But I figured sooner or later we'd find the right way, and I just kept going. Except then Barbara spotted somebody who might know the answers. So we stopped. That guy maybe? Nah, he didn't know. He just walked away. Here we go. The boss guy. He knows. He knows for sure.
We had already missed Upper Centennial Road, so now we had to take Highway 8 to Grimsby and then head up a hill to get to Regional Road 20, which would easily get us to Welland, where my daughter lived.
See, it was after all this that we finally thought we needed a second breakfast. And on our way, we found this McDonald's, so that's where we went.
Highway 8 wasn't so bad for cycling, except that the bike lane didn't go all the way and the shoulder was rough and narrow. On the way, we stopped for some fresh Ontario peaches, which were on sale because of hail damage, but tasted fantastic. Mountain Street, the hill we had to climb, was horrible. It was a narrow road with heavy traffic and the shoulder that wasn't even suitable for riding a bike. We ended up pushing the bikes up the sidewalk on the left side of the road. Some local cyclists were doing the same.
Going slow. They're even having trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, hope you weren't coming. Yeah, I'll give you a little break.
Once we were up the hill, the road was okay, with a decent shoulder. There's some construction just before we reached Road 20. We stopped for ice cream at an Esso station before resuming our ride into Smithville. The road, number 20, was in rough shape and we were on the gravel shoulder for much of the way. Barbara suggested we'd better start looking for a campground, so we followed the signs toward the tourist information office, only to find it closed. There was an accountant's office next door. We knocked on that door and found two friendly ladies who didn't mind giving us local information. Unfortunately, there was no campground in Smithville. My thoughts were around using some public park after dusk, but that would have been another night of stealth camping, so we went to Tim Hortons to see if we could do a little better using their Wi-Fi. There was a campground about 14 kilometers away, and it wasn't very far off our planned route. We decided to go there, but we still needed some energy to do it, so we ended up at a pizza place for supper. On Google Maps, I had found two different routes for cyclists, but they didn't seem very practical. I have to say that even though I like Google Maps a whole lot, for cyclists, it doesn't always seem the best. Leave me a comment if you have a tip on how to get more out of it in that regard, or what other mapping app you like to use. We ended up taking the route Google recommends for cars. It was via a quiet road with no shoulders, but traffic was non-existent, so it turned out to be a great choice. It was a quiet ride through farmland, and it eventually got us to the campground. The NET campground was a bit pricey for just 2 cyclists in a little tent, but it was nice. The one thing I didn't like is that they slapped wristbands on everybody, kind of like in a Cuban resort. The campground had some big bingo night event happening, and there were lots of people around for that. But outside, the place was wide open with lots of space. We picked our spot close to a pond. There was only one other tent nearby, but the campground was busy with RVs and people arriving in cars for the bingo. We sure enjoyed our warm showers, which we had to ourselves. Our tent was all set up and we were clean just before dark. It was time for settling down as we were both pretty tired. There were 2 geese in the pond near our tent. They were busy yakking till late at night, but we eventually passed out. Living in Alberta, I don't get to see my daughter and her family a whole lot. That was part of the reason for the detour very few cross-Canada cyclists would even consider. From Welland, we'd loop back toward Toronto via Niagara Falls. I'll tell you more about it in the next episode. Well, I hope you enjoyed this one. Happy trails, and especially to those who might be out on a big tour this season. Be safe out there and enjoy.